the son of 7 queens. The magical deer. Once upon a time, there was a king who had 7 wives but no children. He was very sad, especially when he thought of having no heir to the throne. One day a poor man came to the king and said, "Your prayers were accepted. One of your 7 wives will give birth to a boy." The king was very happy. He ordered to have festivals, waiting for this happy event. The 7 queens lived in a wonderful palace. Hundreds of maids served them. They had piles of delicious food and drinks. The king was fond of hunting. One day, and before the king went out hunting, he got a message from his 7 wives. The message said, "We hope that your majesty won't go hunting in the northern area today. We had nightmares and we feared that something bad might happen to you." The king promised his wives to obey their request to calm them down. He set off towards the south. But unfortunately, in spite of doing his best to hunt in the east or west, he hunted nothing. As he was so enthusiastic as athlete, he decided not to go back to the palace empty-handed. He set off to the north and forgot the advice of his wives. At first, the king hunted nothing. He began to think of surrendering to bad luck and going back to the palace. But suddenly he saw a wonderful deer. It was a white deer with 2 golden horns and silvery nails. The deer rushed in front of him in the wood. The king decided to chase and catch this deer. It was a strange, beautiful animal. The king instantly ordered his men to circle the wood. Then men advanced slowly to tighten the circle and catch the deer. The king was about to catch this magical deer when it flew high above the king's head towards the mountain. The king had nothing to do but chase this deer. He rushed on his horse, leaving his men in the wood. The king chased the deer for a long time until going into a narrow valley. He restrained the horse. He was in front of a hovel. He went to this hovel to get some water to drink after this long failure. An old woman called her daughter to give the stranger some water. A very beautiful girl came out of a room. Her skin was white and her hair was golden. The king was astonished to see such beauty in this dirty hovel. The girl gave the water to the king while he was looking into her eyes. He discovered that this girl was in fact the white magical deer whom he chased for a long time. The king was charmed by her beauty. He asked her to marry him at once. But she smiled and commented that 7 wives were enough for him. The king insisted, asked her to have mercy, and promised to do whatever she wished. The witch girl said, "Give me the eyes of your 7 queens. I know that you understood my words." The king was completely captivated by the magical beauty of the white deer. He returned to the palace, took off the eyes of the 7 queens, and imprisoned them all in a dirty cell. They became hopeless, blind, and imprisoned women. The king set off to the dirty hovel in the narrow valley carrying his terrible guilt. The white deer laughed cruelly when she saw the 14 eyes. She made a necklace of them and put it around her mother's neck, saying, "Keep this necklace, my dear mother. It would remind you of me while I would be far in the royal palace." The witch girl went with the enchanted king to the palace. He gave her all jewels, precious clothes of the 7 queens, and their palace to live in. Birth of a prince. After a short time, the blind, imprisoned, miserable women became 8 persons. The youngest of them gave birth to a boy. The rest of them felt jealous, but this jealousy disappeared quickly. They saw that this infant was useful to all of them, so they considered him a son to all of them. When the boy began his first steps, he started to dig up the mud wall. After a short time, the hole he dug became wide enough for him to go out. He went out and came back within an hour, carrying sweets, and divided them between the 7 blind queens. When he grew up, he started to go out twice or thrice a day to play with the noble children of the city. No one knew who was this young boy, but all of them loved him. He was good-humored, clever, and very intelligent. So they used to reward him with cakes, dried fruit, or sweets. He used to take these to his 7 mothers in their cell, while all people outside it thought they were dead long ago. When this boy became a youth, he took a bow and an arrow and went out in search of prey. By chance, he passed by the palace where the queen, the white deer, lived in wonderful luxury. There he saw many pigeons flying over the palace around the marble towers. The youth took his arrow and threw it. A pigeon fell down in front of the window of the queen, who was sitting behind the window. The beautiful queen saw the falling pigeon and the handsome youth who caught it. At once, she knew by her magic that this youth was the son of the king. She was. Dying of anger and anxiety, she decided to kill him instantly. So she sent a servant to bring him to her. She asked, "Sell me the pigeon you caught now." The strong youth said, "No, I won't sell it. It is for my 7 blind mothers who live in a dirty cell. They may die if I didn't bring them food." The evil witch queen pretended to cry and said, "Oh, what a pity! Don't you want to get their eyes back? Give me the pigeon and I'll frankly tell you where you can find their eyes." The youth was so happy and gave her the pigeon instantly. The wicked queen sent him to her mother in the narrow valley to ask for the eye necklace. She said she won't hesitate to give these eyes to you if she reads this message. In the message she wrote, "Kill this messenger immediately and spray his blood like water." 14 eyes. The son of the 7 queens was illiterate. He took the killing message and hurried to the mother of the White Witch Queen. During his journey, he passed by a country which seemed very sad. All its people were in deep sorrow. He wanted to know the reason for this clear sadness. The people told him that the sole daughter of their king refused to marry. If the old king dies at any time, there won't be a king. She refused so many decent suitors that the people thought she had gone mad. She repeated that she wouldn't marry except from the son of 7 queens. The hopeless king ordered to bring all those who passed by the city in front of the princess to see them. The youth was taken by force to the palace, in spite of his host, to bring the 14 eyes for his mothers. As soon as the princess saw the poor prince, she blushed and said to her father, "I chose this youth, my dear father." The king was very happy to hear these words. Joy spread everywhere in the kingdom. But the son of the 7 queens said that he wouldn't marry till he got the 14 eyes back. The princess listened to the story of the miserable life of the son of the 7 queens. Then she asked to see the message. When she read it, she said nothing. She replaced it with another message saying, "Take great care of this youth. Do whatever he wants." The princess gave the message to the miserable prince, who rushed out. At last the prince arrived at the dirty hovel where the mother of the queen lived. The old woman frowned as soon as she read the letter, and her ugly face changed. Her anger increased when the youth asked her to give him the eyes necklace. She said, "I have just 13 eyes. I lost an eye last week." The youth was very happy with the eyes and returned to his mothers as quickly as possible. He gave each mother 2 eyes and 1 eye to the youngest of them. He said, "My dear mother, I'll be your second eye." Then he rushed to marry the princess as he promised. Jogi's Call. When the prince passed by the palace of the White Queen, he saw several pigeons on the roof. He used his bow and arrow to catch a pigeon that fell in front of the queen's windows. The wicked queen was so angry to see that the youth was alive and healthy. She cried and ordered her servants to bring the youth to her. When the queen knew that the youth had the 13 eyes and that he gave them to the 7 queens, she asked him how did he come quickly. She pretended that she admired his success and promised to give him Jogi's cow if he gave her the pigeon. Jogi's cow gives milk all day and night. It is a blessing to the whole kingdom. The youth gave the pigeon to the queen without hesitation. She ordered him to go to her mother and ask her to give him the cow. She gave him a message saying, "Kill this youth and spray his blood on the ground." While traveling, the son of the 7 queens passed by the princess to tell her about the cause of his delay. After the princess read the message, she replaced it with another message of recommendation. The old, ugly woman could do nothing to the son of the 7 queens but tell him where he could find Jogi's cow. She advised him not to be scared by the 18,000 jinn who guard the cow. She asked him to go out quickly before she blasts, in anger at her daughter's foolishness and misbehavior. The brave youth listened to the woman and rushed out till he came to a white pond. It was surrounded by 18,000 jinn. They looked frightening, but the youth was brave. He began to sing without looking right or left. Suddenly the youth was in front of the cow. Jogi, the king of the jinn, was beside the cow, milking her day and night. A big tank was full of milk. When Jogi saw the youth, he shouted loudly, "What do you want?" The youth answered, exactly as the old woman told him, "King Endara needs to make a new drum, and I want to take your strong skin to make it." Jogi began to tremble. He couldn't disobey the king. He shouted, "If you exempt me from this request, I'll give you my beautiful cow." The son of the 7 queens pretended hesitation before accepting this offer. He said that it is very hard to get good skin from any other place. Then he accepted the offer, led the magic cow, and went back to his country. The 7 queens were so happy to have the magic cow. They passed all day long milking it, storing the milk, and selling it. They became very rich. The millionfold rise. When the son of the 7 queens was sure that his mothers lived in prosperity, he decided to go to his princess and get married. He passed by the palace, couldn't resist the hobby of hunting pigeons. He hunted a pigeon that fell under the window of the White Queen. She sent servants to bring the youth. This time the queen's face became black with anger, and she wondered why was her mother so kind with him. She was about to lose her consciousness, but she regained his composure and said that if he gives her this 3rd pigeon, she'll give him the millionfold rice that is reaped every night. The prince was happy and he gave her the pigeon. He started his mission at once, carrying the message of killing. Don't miss this chance. Kill the youth and spray the blood like water. When he visited his princess, she saw the message as usual and wrote another. Once again, give this youth what he needs. His blood is as yours. Once again, the old ugly woman was so angry, but she helped him to get the magic rice. She said, Go to this field which is guarded by 18 million jinn. To avoid their harm, don't look back anyhow. When you uproot the longest spike in the field, you'll get the millionfold rice. The brave prince could arrive at the millionfold rice field. He didn't look backward, left or right, but when he is about to leave after uprooting the longest spike, he looked back when he heard someone calling at him. He became a pile of dust instantly. When the old ugly woman noticed that a long time passed and the youth didn't come back, she got worried. She remembered the phrase, "His blood is as yours," which she read in the message, so she hurried to see what happened. When she arrived near the dust pile, she discovered the magic trick. She ended this magic and asked the son of the 7 queens to run away before she loses her temper. She said, "Don't disobey me once again, go back quickly." The prince returned happily to his mothers, who became the richest women in the kingdom because of selling the abundant crop of the millionfold rice. Then they had a splendorous wedding party of their son and the clever princess. End of magic. The bride did not feel at rest until she could bring the prince and his father, the king, together. The evil white witch was punished. She also built a palace for her husband like that of the white witch. When everything was prepared, the bride asked her husband to have a big banquet for the king, who had heard a lot about this strange young man. The king gladly accepted the invitation. When he entered the palace, he was astonished to find a big picture of a person who looked exactly like him. When the host led the king to the pride of place at the party, he found there the 7 queens wearing the same clothes that they were wearing the last time he saw them. The king could not speak at all until the princess came and told him the whole story of magic. Here the king recovered from the magic that afflicted him and was amazed that he had committed such a heinous crime. His anger intensified against the White Queen, who had bewitched him for a long time. So he executed her. The 7 queens returned to their magnificent palace. Everyone lived in happiness.